I am here to introduce to you a great speaker. And again, I want all of you to welcome this young man, Dr. Eddie Connor. Doc, come on down.
Well, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Come on, Pontiac, you can do better than that. Come on, if you make an impact in Pontiac, make some noise. Come on, come on. If you're ready to educate, empower, and excite a new generation of learners, come on, make some noise. Come on, wake somebody up next to you. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to be here. And it is an amazing honor. What an amazing display. I walked in here and I said, am I in the right place? This is absolutely amazing. I'm honored to be here, and I got to give a sincere salute and shout out to some amazing, super bad sister soldiers, to your preeminent president of the Pontiac School District Board of Education, the one and only Dr. Anisha Hanna. Come on, make some noise for her. Yes, yes. And to your superintendent, Dr. Kimberly Leverett. Come on, let them hear you. But don't leave my brother from another mother out, Mr. Kevin Gross. Come on. Give him some love. And of course, salute to all of you for making impact in Pontiac. You continue to rise from the ashes like a phoenix. And so it is an honor to be able to be here. Now, I know the elephant in the room is my bearded baby face. And so I know you're trying to guess my age, and I might as well tell you. I'm older than Michael B. Jordan, younger than Michael Jordan. I'm older than Jaden Smith, younger than Will Smith. Yeah, there it is. Y'all know black don't crack. Brown won't let you down. Beige don't age. Tan got a plan. And lighter do you right. I think I got everybody in here this morning. Everybody's in here. Listen, I realize you don't just soar as high as your dream, you soar as high as your team. So why don't you just please clap it up for the teammate who's seated next to you? Come on, every staff member, every teacher, every administrator, every cafeteria worker, every custodian, every bus driver matters to the holistic development of our children. Our children matter, and you matter as well. Sound people, if you could give me a little bit more monitors in the mic, take me just a little bit higher. I'm on the road a lot, so I need as much volume as I possibly can get. Today I want to talk about weapons of mass instruction. That's what I want to talk about. Weapons of mass instruction. Really how to develop a diverse classroom of learners who read, lead, and succeed. For a quick moment, I want you to just close your eyes and just imagine someone who knew that you were fighting for your life walked up to you one day and said these words, "I thought you died." Shocking, right? Totally dismissive and insensitive, so much so that you probably popped open your eyes. Well, hear me, those were the exact same words that a guy said to me some years ago. And for lack of a better word, y'all, I was angry. Listen, I was so frustrated, I was getting ready to have a Will Smith, Chris Rock moment. Y'all don't look at me in that tone of voice. And I wasn't gonna be Chris. Yeah, I was furious. We were in Detroit, which is my hometown, is Motown on the east side. I got some cheerleaders with me, some east siders with me. I expected them to at least say, "What up, though?" Come on, what up, though? I ain't even get that. It's all right, you can Kevin Hart me and laugh at my pain. His words produced the same pain in my chest when I was struggling to breathe as a teenager, ultimately diagnosed with NHL. Now, I thought I hit the lottery. I said, I hit the Powerball. I'm getting ready to be the youngest owner of a National Hockey League team. I said, go Red Wings. Doctor says, no, you've been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Listen, if we were watching the movie The Color Purple on the screen in here, I tell you, just like Sophia, all my life, I had to fight. Do I got some fighters in here? You fought through the storm. You fought through the rain. You fought through the trials. You fought through the pain. You don't look like what you've been through. Because your test is a testimony, your misery is ministry, your mess is a message, your stumbling block is a stepping stone, and what God will do is he'll use your setback as a setup for your greatest comeback. He'll shift your grief into grace. He'll turn your tragedy into strategy. And I didn't have a strategy because it seemed as if I lost my hair, I lost my self-confidence, I lost my self-esteem, chemotherapy, radiation. My own father never visited me one day in the hospital. People who I thought were praying for me were literally praying on me, sitting on the sideline expecting my demise. People had written my eulogy and my epitaph. They thought it was over for me. I even thought it was over for me. But I'm standing before you in 2024 as a 24-year survivor of stage 4 cancer. Come on, you ought to get excited about that. Cancer made me cry, but it didn't make me quit. I was able to find the can in cancer, and that's the type of message that I share with many of our young people, that, and even if you look around you, you're not the only one who's gone through some issues. You're not the only one. And what we have to do is we have to open our eyes to what our young people are struggling to fight through on a daily basis. Behind every fact is a face. Behind every statistic is a story. And the research indicates that only 10% of black boys in the 8th grade are proficient in reading. 50 million Americans across these yet-to-be United States of America cannot read past the 4th grade level, with the group adversely affected the most being African American males. There's an interconnection between illiteracy and incarceration, as Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu conveys in his book, The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, that prisons are built based on 2nd and 3rd grade reading scores. And so we're living in a society, we're living in a country, we're living in a community, we're living in cities where we would rather lock up our children than unlock their dreams. My favorite 2 classes in school, y'all, were gym and lunch. Y'all probably wouldn't want to see me in your class. I need a whole lot of prayer. I'm at the right place right now. Favorite 2 classes in school were gym and lunch. I love to chase the girls in gym, sit down and eat with them at lunch. Sure did. But I learned something in my chemistry class, that water steams at 211 degrees, it boils at 212 degrees. Isn't it interesting? It's just 1 degree difference between steam and boil. 1 degree difference. Some of us are just 1 book away. We're just 1 colleague away. We're just 1 teacher away. We're just 1 lesson plan away. We're just 1 idea away. We're just 1 innovative thought away. We're just 1 teacher strategy away from shifting our classrooms from somebody's dream on steam to now letting them know that you got something inside of you that can really develop who it is that you are. In my classroom, because I'm a teacher, taught 12 years in the Ferndale High School sector, went to school in Ferndale High School. Then I began to teach on the collegiate level as well. So I ain't new to this, I'm true to this. Yeah, you didn't just get a speaker in here, you got a teacher in here. So when you talk about classroom management, when you talk about discipline, when you talk about dealing with kids who seem to be unruly, when you talk about not being able to get through certain children, when you talk about bureaucracy, when you talk about administration, when you talk about all of it, I know what I'm talking about and I know what you're dealing with. And the fact of the matter is, we got to maintain that hope. We have to maintain that idea to where we do educate, we do energize, we do excite, we do elevate ourselves. In my classroom, whenever it was time to drop everything and read, almost every boy's head dropped on the desk, as oftentimes their book became the most comfortable pillow. And so I often said to myself, why do boys close their eyes when they open books? And here's what I began to realize. I began to realize that oftentimes many educators in schools do not provide culturally relevant literature to where our children see themselves reflected in the books that they read. Walter Dean Myers, a writer of more than 100 books, the late, great Walter Dean Myers put it this way. He said, books transmit values. If I'm not in the book, what does that say about my value? So it's easy for me to close my eyes if the curriculum doesn't connect to my plight and my predicament. It's easy for me to close my eyes if the book doesn't speak to my value and if I cannot locate myself in the lesson. Easy for me to do that. Easy to close my eyes if you don't connect with who I am, where I am, and where I want to be, my plight, my promise, and my purpose. And this is why I developed specifically and went beyond just the 8 to 3 aspect of the classroom, and I developed an after-school mentoring program called Boys to Books to empower our young brothers to be able to read, lead, and succeed through literacy, leadership, and life skills enrichment. It's definitely what your district needs. Y'all need that for your boys, for your mentoring program, shameless plug. But it is the way to really speak truth to power and to also advocate for our boys who are oftentimes, sometimes not just a dropout rate, but it's a push-out rate, it's a pass-out rate. Pass from class to class. Nobody wants to deal with them. And so now you're dealing with Johnny or Jamal, who's in the 9th grade reading on a 3rd grade level. What do we do with that? Is that because of him or is that because of us? Is that because of him or is that because in many cases even the parents? Because oftentimes the first teacher is the parent. And when you're dealing with literacy, ignorance, and incarceration, in many cases, the same parents who did not have a great school connection now pass that on from their child. Generation on generation on generational aspect of what it is that we now have to try to remediate. Education is the key, but here's the question, is the lock broken? Is the lock broken? When we look at the predicament and the paradigm shift of what is going on. Teaching is hard work, but it's heart work. And heart work is hard work, y'all. Get up each and every single day as you dealing with the myriad of what it is that you're dealing with. You know you on your 4th coffee cup already. You already got another gray hair growing thinking about the school year. You're thinking about all these specific things and trying to deal with your home, and now you're trying to deal with children who may be coming from broken homes. It's hard work. And hard work is hard work. When you look at the landscape of education, what can you see? You can clearly see that our schools are underfunded. Teachers are underpaid. Y'all ain't said nothing. And our children, unfortunately, are oftentimes undereducated. Look at our classrooms, our culture, our curriculum. Look at our communities. They are in crisis like never before. And we are in the midst of a preschool to prison pipeline. And have you ever thought about this? What makes kids eager to run to school in kindergarten, but they can't wait to run home by 5th grade? We believe that we're smarter than a 5th grader, but we have a hard time answering that question. Why is it that prior to our children entering school, they are full of curiosity, they love to learn, but after going to school, children often lose interest in learning, long to escape from school. Rather than blaming the children, here's the thing, maybe it's our fault as educational leaders. What is it that takes place in preschool where they're so excited, in kindergarten where they're so excited, to where now by 4th or 5th grade, they can't wait to get out of our class. They can't wait to go home. They can't wait to disconnect. Consider with me this. Prior to 4th grade, classrooms are communities of collaboration. After 4th grade, classrooms now become individualized zones of competition. After 4th grade, children are confined to their own desk. Prior to 4th grade, there's freedom of movement. Post 4th grade, students are sedentary. Prior to 4th grade, students have recess. Post 4th grade, students are now depressed. I wonder, do you remember the excitement that you first had when you became a teacher? Come on, you couldn't stop decorating your room. You couldn't stop redecorating your room. You wasn't going to the principal asking him, hey, you know what, I need another $100. No, you was digging into your own pocket. What happened? What? Do you remember the excitement when you first became a board member, when you first became an administrator, when you first became a principal or an assistant principal or a parapro? When you first became a school counselor? You were excited to see the children coming. You was waiting with bated breath. You was on tiptoe anticipation. Now maybe you roll your eyes and you wave because you can't wait till they say goodbye. You was waiting to get them. Now you can't wait till you leave them. Just going through the motions, teaching, leading on autopilot. And if you'll really be honest, many of us are sitting in here and we have quiet quit. You know what to do just to do the bare minimum. You know what to do just to be able to report and just to be able to punch the card in, to have your lunch pail and know when to take lunch, and you know when the bell is ringing. You know the whole process and everything like the back of your hand. But many of us, in many cases, have quiet quit. We're here, but we're not here. We're physically present in our classrooms, but we're mentally absent. And you don't think the children know? You don't think the children understand when it is that we have checked out? You don't think the children know when it is that we don't believe in them? Show of hands, how many of us believe that our children can succeed? Come on, if you believe it, say, I believe. Come on, say, I believe. Gotta believe that our children can succeed despite what it is that they're showing. If you'll really be honest, many of us have we've disengaged. We've only doing the bare minimum. You're already thinking about next June and August. I see you. You used to come in early and leave late. You were hippopotamus happy and you were peacock proud. What happened? Something happened. I want you to think about that. Pinpoint that moment when you lost your mojo. What made you lose your zeal? What made you miss a step? What transpired to make you lose a step or become cynical? Now, as you think about it, what can you do to regain your energy, your commitment, your tenacity, and your excitement? John Taylor Gatto, a five-time teacher in the state of New York, 5-time Teacher of the Year in the state of New York, said he became totally disillusioned that his job as a school teacher was not to teach math, but to teach school. Primary goal of real education is not to just deliver facts, but to guide students to truths that will allow them to be responsible for their life. Some of us are not even teaching chemistry, we're teaching classroom management. We're not teaching biology, we're babysitting. I want you to think about the emotional, social, psychosocial conundrum that our children are caught in. These days, what our children are dealing with and they're grappling with issues that we just can't wrap our mind around. Come on, they're dealing with issues at a younger age and we were just totally immune to that. Trying to unalive themselves. Dealing with interpersonal trauma and triggers that in many cases become so TNT, explosive in their lives. They're dealing with mental health issues, bullying, cyberbullying, limited beliefs, procrastination, emotional snipers, stinking thinking that keeps them soaking and sinking, procrastination, feeling hopeless. Through all of that, here's what we want them to do. We want to be alert. We want to be aligned. We want to be alive. We want to be awake. And we want to be enthusiastic and embrace academics. But hear me, how can they do all of that when they're dealing with all of this? How can they deal with all of that when they're coming from broken homes, broken schools, broken communities? And so this is what we do. We prioritize memorization over imagination and innovation. We would rather medicate than educate. What are we doing to reignite our children's imagination and make dead classrooms come alive? I need you to hear me. The greatest skill of the 21st century is the skill of critical thinking. And what we have to do, we got to be critical thinkers in a chaotic world because education is begging for innovation. Education is begging for innovation. We need innovation in how we prepare our instructors. We need innovation in how we deal with our children. We need an innovation in how we use technology for teaching. We need innovation so that we can understand social media can be used in the classroom. It's not just a toy, but it's also a tool. We have to have innovation, but guess what? We don't have innovation methods and strategies and teaching skills unless we adopt an innovative mindset. I have to think bigger than my bank account. I got to think bigger than my budget. And we can't really talk about education unless our children have food in their stomachs. We can't really talk about education unless our communities are safe. We can't really talk about education until our children can walk the streets without fear, and unless their families and the structure in the community are solid enough so that we can pass on the love that they're so deserving of. Because here's the thing, healthy schools and healthy neighborhoods are interconnected. We gotta have healthy schools, we gotta have healthy education. We have to move to that particular place in that aspect, because the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. But here's the caveat, the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. Maybe they're trying to burn down the classroom. Maybe they're trying to burn it down in the school and in the district of what it is that now they're acting inept and now they don't want to connect with you simply because they don't feel the warmth. What are you doing to make our children feel seen, to feel loved, to feel valued, to understand that they have a voice and their voice matters in your classroom? Where it's through think, pair, share, whether it may be through Socratic method. What are those aspects of what it is that we're using to be able to engage them to where we put relationship over rigor and rhetoric? Because I can't adequately teach you if I don't learn you. I can't adequately connect with you if I don't really know who it is that you are. We have to realize that we are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's protector. Because here's the thing, if the schools reject our kids, if the church rejects our kids, if the communities reject our kids, if the home rejects our kids, and the streets accept our kids, guess where our children are headed? Schools close, prisons and cemeteries open. And hear me, when you grow up and you live in a community and you don't really receive the love of tender loving care, of focus, of affection and compassion, then here's what you become. You become ruthless, you become deracinated, you become unresponsive. You get caught up in trauma-induced self-sabotage, impulsive living, violence and crime, struggles. The cycle of illiteracy, ignorance, and incarceration continues to permeate and pervade. And sadly, here's what we have. We have more metal detectors than we have mental health experts. It's a sad predicament. Education should not be an indoctrination of incarceration into a school to prison pipeline. Because here's the thing, we have to get so upset and we have to have such righteous indignation to where we say, listen, we got to upset this equilibrium. We have to upset the school to prison pipeline. We have to upset, not on my watch will another child not recognize their value. Not on my watch, despite whatever goes on in their household. When they come into my classroom, it's gonna feel like a home. They may have been abused last night, but when they come into my classroom today, they're gonna feel like they are of use. You might be the only parent that they connect to. You might be the only confidant that they have. You may be the only mental health expert, the one who pushes them in a pathway of mental health wellness. And what we have to do is we have to affirm our young people. We have to let them know, listen, you're not a young thug, you're a young scholar. You're not a stereotype, you're a prototype. You will not do 4 years in a prison house. You will do 4 years of Spelman and Morehouse. You will not do 4 years in a correctional facility. You're gonna do 4 years at a college or a university. And even if you don't go to a college or a university, you can still pick up a trade. Because a plumber is just as important as a professor. An electrician is just as important as an educator and an engineer. And I'm gonna help you to engineer your future. Y'all don't wanna talk to me today. I don't care how our youth portray to act. All of our students have a fragile do not drop label on their lives. And they don't care how much we know until they know how much we care. Because here's the thing, caring and committed educators make deposits so our children and our students can make withdrawals for the rest of their lives. A lot of us, we just say those students, that student, this student, and it doesn't denote any ownership. What if you had the mindset to say, listen, I'm gonna treat these children like they're our children, like they're my children? Because you exact love, you inject love into who you see as what it is that is you are responsible for. I'm taking accountability who I'm responsible for. It's not these kids, it's not those kids, it's my kids. Somebody say my kids. Somebody say our kids. Come on, somebody say our leaders. And in order for them to be leaders, I have to be an innovator. Here's what the classroom has to do. The classroom has to curate a dreamscape conversation for co-generative dialogues in which educators and students, they come together to discuss the classroom experience. What do I mean by that? Are you willing to allow your students to be co-teachers? Yeah, it got real quiet on that one. Here's what co-teaching is. Co-teaching is allowing students to teach. I'm not talking about teaching for your entire class. You say, I don't mind. I need a break anyway. No, I'm talking about for 1 minute. I'm talking about for 5 minutes. I'm talking about for 10 minutes. I'm talking about maybe for 25 minutes. Right? Well, what if they don't know the content? Well, you don't know the content either. Come on. Why are you lying? We in church. Y'all ain't gonna tell the truth? Come on, you know you learned that information last night before you taught it the next day. Come on. Listen, it's not about knowledge that's mastered. It's not about knowledge that's memorized. It's about mastery of the content. And mastery is not memorization. Mastery, here it is, it's about fostering a relationship with the content. It's not about content expertise. It's about content curiosity. I got to get curious about the content. I got to get curious about the curriculum because that develops a desire to learn. It develops a desire to teach. And here's what we got to do. We got to let the babies not only learn, we got to let the babies teach. Let the babies cook. Give them what you use to make your lesson plans. Make their assignment a lesson plan. Give them the websites. Give them the resources that you use. Have them draw up the lesson. Have them dream about what this lesson should look like. That's innovative. Some of our most amazing lesson plans don't just come from us. It comes from the children that we teach. It comes from some of those kids who we would classify to be hard-headed. It comes from the ones who, in many cases, get on our last nerve. You know who it is. You just got a picture in their head. You just got a picture in your head about them. Let them write the lesson plan. Let them teach the lesson. Then give them some points for doing it. Because sometimes the points are the motivator to do it. Sometimes the points are the motivator to do the work. We got to learn how to be quiet and let sometimes the students not just learn, but let them teach. Because whatever I connect to is whatever I learn from, even more so than you teaching it to me. Watch and witness how our young people navigate struggle beautifully. Don't cut them off, don't interrupt, don't yell out, hey, they teaching. You don't always have to be their savior. Allow them to realize, here it is, how hard it is to teach. Come on, you know this thing ain't easy. And so now, when you give them the opportunity, whether it's to teach for 60 seconds, whether it's to teach for 3 minutes, now they have a newfound respect for what it is that you do. Let them experience that. Secondly, develop a classroom name. Give your classroom an identity. When you say 313, when you say what up, doe, you know who we talking about. Detroit. When you say Yaktown, come on, y'all too quiet. I said, when you say Yaktown, somebody holler Pontiac. I gotta make some impact. There's a connectedness through naming. Right? It's a familial name. It denotes a family. It's a la familia aspect to it. That's the only Spanish I know. Got to go back to school. Right? It builds a relationship to have the members of the classroom dream up together. Then it creates conditions to where students are responsible for one another. It lessens your workload. What do I mean? Everybody in your classroom has to have a job. Yeah, it's your job. Students, to facilitate the space, to facilitate the ecosystem and the operations of the classroom. It goes like this. You're the desk director. You're the desk straightener. You're the pencil sharpener. You're the copy maker. You're the attendance taker. You're the floor sweeper. You're the person who takes out the trash and moves that over into the corner. You're the corner operator. Give them a task. Because here's the thing, classroom responsibility has to have a deep connection that goes beyond just turning in this assignment. Are you present? Are you absent? They're absent while present. How about that? Because here's the thing, now my responsibility is not to just move into my own learning, into my own test score. It goes beyond that. Now I'm responsible for the person who's sitting next to me in the classroom. Right? It places an onus on the responsibility of a student to where it's not about I, it's about us. It's not about me, it's about we in totality. Right? And when you operate in that level, without that, everyone suffers. For instance, a kid who was assigned a job in a classroom in the ecosystem space is absent one particular day. And then now they come back to the classroom after being absent, and guess what? Everybody's asking, where were you? Because you were the desk straightener. Desk didn't get straightened because you weren't here. And now all of a sudden, this person who may feel invaluable, insignificant says, wow, I really do matter. People were looking for me. And if I don't show up, the class can't go up. Kids still come to me this day, who I've taught years ago. Say, Connor, you know what? Your class was my favorite class. You were my favorite teacher. Now I know my class wasn't their favorite class. I was teaching history. They didn't like history. But they liked the home environment that I set up in the classroom. They enjoyed the environment. They enjoyed the connectivity. And so now history became more palatable. They were able to lean in a little bit more because I leaned into their life. What imaginative methods will you use to make our children feel seen, feel heard, feel valued? Little do they know, and little do we know, sometimes the family structure isn't right. And your classroom sometimes is the only home that our children will ever experience. Is it as dysfunctional as what they may come from? Is it as disinteresting as what it is that they've been connecting to? We know how to teach from the text, but here's the thing, it's our context is where we connect. Next is not content first. Content over context is a failure in the making. Somebody just got mad. What do I mean? Context over content. Where do they come from? What is life for our students like after they leave my classroom? What are their hopes? What are their dreams? What are their fears? Right? Because if you can get our children to open up their heart, they can open up their mind to receive the information, the knowledge, and the wisdom of what it is that you're trying to inject into who it is that they are. Content is not first, context is first. Somebody just got mad. Well, how the students gonna learn if we don't place content preeminent? Will you just relax? Come on, seriously, take a chill pill real quickly. If you create the right environment, learning is gonna happen naturally, right? And real talk, sad to say, some of us as teachers, we're the biggest liars. Y'all don't like that. As teachers, some of us are the biggest liars. What does I mean by that? Whenever kids ask teachers a question, here's what, when we don't know the answer, we just try to make up something. Yeah, we just start making stuff up just to get kids to shut up. Sometimes the reason you don't like kids to think freely is because you don't want kids to ask questions that you don't know the answers to. But here's what we got to do. Not knowing is not a deficiency. It's connectivity. Right? Because here's the thing. Kids love when you say, I'm not sure. So this is what you say. Let's figure it out together. Come on, just repeat after me. Say, let's figure it out together. A know-it-all really knows nothing at all. Right? I'm engaged in this content. I'm engaged in this just like you are. Well, you're the teacher. You're supposed to know everything. No. I'm learning just like you are. It's not a deficiency. It's a strategy, not knowing. Speaking of strategy, let me just disrupt the equilibrium real quickly. While you sit next to somebody, just nudge your neighbor. I know we in church, so it's all right that we can do this. Nudge your neighbor and just look at them. And as you're looking at them, I want you to think about everything that's wrong with them. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, y'all stop. Y'all stop. Somebody said, I need a little bit more time. I just found something. Yeah, he was right. You know, y'all ain't gonna quit. Why would I do such a thing? Why would I tell you to do something crazy like that? Because this is what we do. We make silent prejudgments about the kids who come into our classrooms. We judge them based on their hoodie. We judge them based on their sagging pants, but they're coming from sagging homes, coming from sagging communities, coming from sagging relationships, coming from a sagging school system or a sagging environment, a sagging community. But if you pull up the home, if you pull up the classroom, if you pull up the student, if you pull up their self-love, if you pull up their value, I'm a living witness, they will pull up their pants. We got to take it in vested interest. Well, they didn't do the project, but they're coming from abject poverty. Let me get to know the person before I put the project in front of the person. The greatest indicator of our students' success is the belief that our children can succeed. And here's the thing. We're in this church today, which is a reminder that there is no room for teaching without faith. Why y'all so scared of faith? Come on. Belief that our children can succeed is about having faith that they have the requisite skills to do it, no matter what it looks like. Faith is taking the first step when you can't see the whole staircase. Right? Why y'all so scared of spirit? That's what's wrong with education today. Ain't no spirit in it no more. No faith in it anymore. Listen, back in the day we had pep rallies to promote school spirit. We teach at school, but we lost our spirit in school. And so here's what. There's no soul in it. School is lacking soul. School is lacking spirit. And our students know it. That's why they can't connect to it. Ain't no soul in it no more. Come on. The teaching don't even feel like beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, ram, ham, hog, dog. Ain't got no Lowry's in it no more. I don't know nothing about cooking, but I know that. Make me a pound cake when I leave, please. Listen, there's a pedagogical gospel to teaching. It really is. You got to realize that your classroom is the pulpit. Your children are the congregants. They're the parishioners. Come on, you're a prophet and a professor and a parent and a preacher all in one. You're a principal all in one. You're a teacher and a trainer. You're a coach and a confidant, all in one. You're wearing a multiplicity of hats for the multiplicity of the disciplines that you deal with. And hear me, we're here at this convocation, and every convocation needs a provocation. I'm here to provoke you to do something, to provoke you to think differently, to provoke you to think bigger than your bank account, your budget, your barriers, your boundaries, your blueprints. Education, we are in an age of disruption. If we keep doing the same old thing, we'll keep doing the same old thing. If we don't evolve, we won't be involved. Are you hearing me? It's not that your paycheck is just at stake. It's your children that are at stake. Because here it is. There's got to be more than a paycheck. It's got to be a calling. A job is what you're paid for, but your calling and your purpose is what you're made for. It's about people, not a paycheck. It's not about you thinking about your next vacation. It's about the fact that this is a vocation. This is my responsibility, and because of responsibility, now I'm moving to a place of accountability. Provocation promotes action to not be a thermometer, but to be a thermostat. You don't reflect the temperature, you set the temperature. You don't reflect, you reset. Just because they got an attitude don't mean you got to have one. You got emotional intelligence, right? Just because everything is chaotic around you. The boat doesn't sink because it's on the water. It sinks because too much water gets in the boat. You got to feel your feelings, but not let your feelings be such in a place to where it feels you. Got to process my emotions. Got to be innovative. Got to be a disruptive thinker, not a distorted thinker. I got to be a disruptive thinker. And it takes faith to dream big. You can't model imagination. You can't model innovation. If your dreams, hear me, if your dreams are affordable, you're not dreaming big enough. And what I want to ask you today is this what we often ask our students, but I want to ask you this. Where do you see your life going? We ask our students boldly and ebulliently, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? No, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? Come on, are you taking the time to write your vision and make it plain? Because when I make it P-L-A-I-N, it becomes a P-L-A-N-E. I can launch, I can take flight to another level, in another dimension. What are you doing to carve out steps for yourself to develop who it is that you are? Because if you don't do it for you, you won't do it for anybody else either. If you don't do it for you, you won't do it for the children who are now looking up to you. People who can't dream won't encourage other people to dream. Hurting people hurt people. Broken people break people. The linguistic rhetorical genius Langston Hughes said, hold fast to dreams, for if dreams go, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. And here's the thing, oftentimes we're crippling our children's wings because somebody crippled our wings. Hurting people hurt people, but heal people heal people. I gotta be a healed educator, I gotta be a healed thinker. If we don't heal, we'll bleed on our students who didn't cut us. Yeah, if you don't heal, you will bleed on your children and your students who didn't cut you. And I want to ask you, when did life give you laryngitis? How old were you when you lost your voice? To advocate for the least, the last, the lost, the left out, the overlooked, the underserved, and the underrepresented. Maya Angelou, from the ages of 8 to 13, didn't say a word because of the horrific vitriolic abuse of what it is that she experienced. The situation muzzled her. Who muted your message? Who paused your poetry? Who invalidated your ideas? Suffering in silence. But now's the time to find your voice again. Come on, because when you find your voice, now you'll be able to be a voice for the voiceless. You'll be able to be a voice for the disadvantaged. You'll be able to be a voice for our children. Let me give you this, and I'm out of here. Just a few ways to develop a diverse classroom of learners who read, lead, and succeed. Number one, say curiosity. We're in a system of wanting to control things because we are often controlled. Here's the curriculum. Here's the standards. Here's the obligations. Here's the dress code. And because we feel controlled, now we want to control students. It's a system of control. It's a Janet Jackson song playing in your mind every day. Control. Y'all don't act like y'all don't know that. You know more than Mahalia Jackson and Marvin Sapp. A controller is not an engineer. A controller is not an innovator. A controller is not a creator. Have you discovered your inner genius? Pablo Picasso said, we're all born a genius. The hard part is trying to remain a genius as we get older. life crushes out your genius. And now, oftentimes, we're crushing out our children's genius. You got to understand this. You are an artist in the classroom. Teaching is an art form. Maybe you need to go down to the art teacher and just look at them and just learn from them and just watch them and just shadow them and see how it connects to what you do in the classroom as a pedagogical painter on the lives of our children. Curiosity has to denote connectivity. We got to champion relationship over rhetoric. We got to get into the context of teaching and leading by learning our children. Number two, after curiosity, number two, embrace the mess. Somebody say, embrace the mess. Oh, yeah. Sometimes teaching is a little messy. We're pedagogical practitioners. We don't always get it right. Sometimes we commit educational malpractice. I can hear a rat licking ice in here. Learning can be ugly, but here's the thing, it can eventually turn out beautifully. Robin Sharma, who's a writer of the book, The 5 a.m. Club, said this: change is hard at first, messy in the middle, but it's beautiful at the end. Hard in the beginning, messy in the middle, beautiful at the end. And oftentimes, we can't get to the end because we keep thinking about how messy it is in the middle right now, how murky it is in the middle. Got to understand this, the hard part is done. The message that is clearing up a little bit more, right, is being unveiled each and every single day. Don't allow what's messy to become misery. Learn to cultivate creativity in the midst of the chaos and the crisis. Next, somebody say self-reflection. That's what we got to do. If we're going to really move to the place to develop in a classroom of learners, leaders who read, lead, and succeed, we got to have curiosity. We got to embrace the mess. We got to practice self-reflection. What do I mean by that? Reflection happens through accountability. Reflection happens through vulnerability. It is saying to your coworker, you know what, you said something to me the other day in the lunchroom, and I took umbrage at that. That kind of hurt. I know you said it in jest. I know you said it joking, but it kind of hurt me. Versus you having an attitude, you don't talk to them for the next 9 months. And they're right next to your classroom. Come on. We got to have connectivity, not just with our children, but with each other. A lot of us, we go along, but we don't get along. Who does she think she is? Who does he think that? I know they ain't gonna talk to me that way. 3 snaps in the neck roll, hair fly, high five, hair flip, a high five, 3 snaps in the neck roll. And it's you go, girl. Yeah, you go and get out of my face. Snatching edges in wigs. Some of y'all fight more than the students do. Oh, it's tight, but it's gonna be all right. Where's my exit sign, Dr. Anisha? I gotta have reflection. I gotta think about what it is that I'm thinking about. It's gotta be, yeah, I messed up. You know what, I can do better. I can take accountability. I didn't get that right today. Monday, I was a mess. Tuesday, I'm coming with my best, though. I can model X, Y, Z. Everybody wants to be an adult until it's time to communicate. Let me take a sip before I slip. Here's what I gotta do. As an educator, I gotta actively also engage in self-care. Come on, family. Come on. A lot of us are dealing with burnout. A lot of us are stressed out because you won't put yourself on your calendar. I got all this. When are you gonna take some time for margin? Because here's the thing, you can't pour from an empty cup. And oftentimes we're pouring into people who have holes in their cup. And because we don't take any time to withdraw, we don't take any time to invest in ourselves, now we don't know who to invest in. We casting our pearls to swine. We giving everybody else who it is that we are, but we don't even give ourselves ourselves. When are you gonna take some time for yourself? I gotta move into the place of understanding trauma-informed learning, trauma-informed instruction. Self-reflection is metacognitive. That means I gotta think about what I'm thinking about. Number 4, say environment. Gotta have environment. It's essential that we develop a culture in a classroom. You can have a vision all day, but culture dictates the vision, whether it works or not. Vision is about more than just what you write on the board, just more than just what you put on the easel and on a Post-it note. Vision has to become visual. How does it become visual? In the way that I connect with my students. What is the environment? What is the culture that goes beyond curriculum? See, we know curriculum, we know classroom management, but we don't know culture. That's a foreign language to us. Culture says you're a person. Culture says I want to develop a relationship with you in a healthy way. Culture says I need to know where you come from. What do you enjoy? What are your fears? What are your frustrations? You don't like this subject, why? You want to be this, why? We know what, we know when, we know where, we know how, but we don't ask the question why. And this is why we stay this way. This is why it's always the same thing. Here's what we do. We just use a whole bunch of materials, but they're not culturally relevant. Children are coming from a diversity of classroom, a diversity of environments, rather. Some of them avoided the attention and the affection that they're so craving for. But are we gonna make our children feel seen, heard, loved, and valued? This is what we said. What goes on in this house, that's a lie. What goes on in this house bleeds into the other house. What goes into the house bleeds into the classroom. What goes on in your classroom bleeds into another classroom. And the cycle of illiteracy, ignorance, and incarceration continues. Who's gonna stop the bleeding? A lot of us, we're leading while bleeding. We're helping other people, but we're hemorrhaging. And so now we're part of the cutting that keeps on going. Who's gonna stop the bleeding? Who's gonna break the cycle? Come on, tap yourself and say, I will. Say, I will. Sigmund Freud said we are in adulthood what we have experienced in childhood. It is Dr. Joy DeGroy in her book, The Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, who said we have experienced what it is that we're carrying in our DNA is the abscess of what it is, the ancestral baggage of what we carried on from generation to generation to generation, and it continues to pass down the line unless we do something about what it is that's going on. Next, say engagement. The classroom has to be a safe zone. The classroom, your classroom has to be a haven of hope. Has to be a city and a city of refuge. It has to make our children holistically successful. Here's what we have to do. We have to pay attention to what motivates and engages our children to learn. Train up a child in the way that they should go. And when they're older, they won't depart from it. What do our children gravitate to? Beyond trying to be a class comedian, beyond trying to be a class clown, beyond what we deem to be disruptive behavior. What is the art? What is the science? What is the math? What is the engineering? What is the technology of what it is that they gravitate to? We have to incorporate that through Think, Pair, Share, through social emotional learning. Number 6, say expectations. Come on, say it louder, say expectations. The greatest indicator of our student success is the belief that our children can succeed. For those of you who believe our children can succeed, put a 1 in the air. Come on, yeah. It reminds you that you're number one. It reminds you that our children are number one. It reminds you that here it is, this district is number one. Come on, clap it up if you know that this is gonna be the best district in the state of Michigan. Beyond the excitement, we gotta get into alignment though. We gotta believe that Jose and Jamal can learn just as good as Johnny. We gotta believe Keisha can learn just as good as Katie. Y'all don't wanna talk to me. When we genuinely believe that all students can succeed, now we pour into their multiple intelligences. Now we pour into their social emotional learning with various modalities. Now the spirit of success becomes infectious in our classroom, and from one classroom to this classroom, from Miss Harris' classroom to brother so-and-so's classroom, from this to that, from one school to the other. It becomes infectious. Going viral is more than a video. It's also the teaching and the training. Next, say encouragement. We have to affirm and speak life into our children. Every day you gotta tell them that they're bright. Every day you got to tell them that they're brilliant. Every day you got to tell them that these babies are beautiful. Every day you got to tell these babies that they blessed. Come on, somebody say bright. Say blessed. Say beautiful. Say brilliant. Because you can't lead who you won't love. You can't save who you won't serve. And our young people are looking for authenticity. They're looking for advocacy. They're looking for identity. They're looking to want to know, will you speak a word of encouragement to me? Will you recognize my value? Beyond just what you're saying, do you have a receptive ear to listen? Because teaching is not only just about talking, teaching is also about listening. Many of our young people today, they live in a generation where loyalty is just nothing but a tattoo. Love is just a quote. Lying is the new truth. Life is a tough teacher for many of them because they've been given the test before the lesson. No father in the home, family members incarcerated, raising themselves. Many times we didn't realize that they didn't eat for the last 2 days. They didn't have breakfast in the morning. Over the weekend, their cousin was shot in a fit of rage. Look at our classrooms, culture, communities in crisis. What is the value of black and brown life and Asian life and Indian life and Native American life and white life and Hispanic life and Arab life in America? The school system would say $9,600, but the prison system would say $42,000. More profit locking them up than unlocking their dreams. Living in this incarceration nation, which houses 95% of the world's prison population. I know you've matriculated through the higher echelon of academia. I know you can be intoxicated with the exuberance of your intellectual verbosity. But our children don't care about that. They care if you care. And as I hasten to my close today, we got to realize this: chains are no longer metal, now they're mental. A lot of us were dealing with psychological pain, emotional incarceration. People's opinions have become our prison. In a psychological prison without bars. You see my suit today, but you can't see the scars that are under them. A lot of people gave up on me. Teachers, in many cases, gave up on me. My own guidance counselor told me that I'm not even college material. She told me to pick up a trade. She said, maybe you'll get through that. She saw me where I was, but she didn't see me for where I was going. Didn't get any guidance or counseling. But I'm grateful for a teacher who didn't even look like me. While I was getting chemotherapy and radiation, a white man, Mr. Wenham, we didn't have nothing in common. I had never been around a great group of people who looked beyond just me. And you hear all these things about racism and things of that nature, but he took ownership of the relationship that his wife, who was my homebound teacher because I couldn't go to school, helped me, took me to my first baseball game. He never had a son. I became the son to him that he never had. Didn't look like me. I didn't look like him. But it's not so much about race, it's about my place in their life. Race is not the indicator for our student success. It's the belief, it's the faith. When everybody else gave up on me, his wife and him and my mama didn't. And that's what it's about. Yeah, I went to the School of Hard Knocks, graduated from the University of Adversity, simply because struggle was my greatest teacher. Frederick Douglass said, if we build strong children, we won't have to repair broken adults. I like to say, if we build strong boys and girls, we won't have to repair broken men and women. And our children are coming from broken homes, broken schools, broken neighborhoods. It's the power of mentoring that unlocked the door for me, providing me an opportunity to empower our boys while speaking to the boy in me who was still searching for a father when my father wasn't there. Yeah, I battled stage 4 cancer, but by the grace of God, I was able to find the can in cancer. And not only write 18 books, but show our children how to find their value in books. And when our children come into our classrooms, this is what we got to express. We got to let them know it's not where you start in life. It's what you do with life that determines where you end up in life. And so today, as I stand before you, I can stand in front of that same guy who said those words to me. I thought you died. And I can look at him today as I turn and flip the page on this stage to be a pen in the hand of God and write a new chapter. You said, I thought you died. I can look back at you and tell you, you thought wrong. Because as you can clearly see, I didn't die, I multiplied. Come on, Pontiac. Whatever you do, multiply your gifts, multiply your purpose, multiply your classroom, multiply your school district, multiply and bring unity. Because it's not just about what you do, it's how you do it. Let's do everything in excellence this year. You are your ancestors' wildest dream, and you gotta teach like it. You gotta coach like it. You gotta love like it. You gotta give like it, because the decisions you make in the classroom affects a world not yet. Let's teach like our world depends on our words. Let's teach like our methods depend on our message. Let's teach like our children matter, and they will be world changers. No more school year as usual. No more business as usual. Go into your classroom fired up. Go into your classroom with a clear head. Go into your classroom with a clear conscience to set our children's hearts, minds, and spirits on fire. Pontiac, are you ready? Come on, Pontiac. Are you ready? Come on the count of three, say, I'm ready. Come on, say engage. Say inspire. Say educate. Say excite. I know that's right. Now give yourselves a hand. God bless you. One more slide, please. One more. My books are coming out. Nobody knows this yet, but I'm letting you all know before I let everybody else know. I've got 2 books that are amazing. They're coming out in the next couple of weeks called Strategies for Successful Schools and Learners Are Leaders. Learners Are Leaders will be a great book for our children. Whether you're a preschool teacher, whether our kids are preteens, it'll be a great blessing to them. 31-day journal for our children to develop who it is that they are, to affirm themselves. Then Strategies for Successful Schools, a great manual for every administrator, for every teacher, for every leader, for every community member. Whether you're a custodian or a classroom manager, these are the books that'll be for you. So scan that QR code, and it's also, the books are available at theeaglesacademy.com/books. I appreciate you. Thank you, Pontiac. I love you.